welcome to episode 1 of Pocket Studio. My name is Sean Hall, and I'm joined by my very good friend and colleague, partner in crime, Joshua Stewart. Josh, how you doing?
Hi, everybody. Good. How you doing?
I'm feeling good. It's 10:30 p.m. where I am, and it's a late night thing. But I was thinking this is the time when the studio is really coming to life because it's kind of the rest of the world is disappearing and receding into sleep, and the world of the dream begins.
That's it, man. And we're
Yeah,
talking about something. Then maybe the name of the whole thing gives it away. It's Pocket Studio. So it's
yeah.
about finding the time and resources and all the other stuff to get our creativity out to the world from a space like you're sitting in or like I'm sitting in. This is actually my workspace. On the other side of the camera, there's a similar setup like yours. Little keyboard. There's some speakers and headphones and all the other stuff. And 80% of my kind of music work gets done here in this space. It's
So
incredible.
on this channel that we're starting, Pocket Studio, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be talking about different types of projects that we're working on, things we're collaborating with people, but more or less this is kind of like a do-it-yourself, how-to experience of recording your own music, making your own art with limitations. That's more or less
Yeah.
what Pocket Studio is all about.
Basically, I mean, there's lots of stuff out there on the internet already. There's lots of people working from home, but I
Heaps of
guess
people.
we're coming at it not only from tech heads, because we're not completely tech heads, but we're coming at it from an artistic point of view as well, and
Yep.
mainly creativity. So that we're finding ways to not stifle creativity by putting bunches of gear in front of us or bunches of obstacles between us and whatever our creative goal is.
Mm.
And I think so you and I reconnected a couple of years ago on a
Yep.
project that we've been working on and off for a long time.
You might
And
say we've been working on this since we first met each other in a way, because there was
pretty
always a
much,
vision of doing something that had a quite an elaborate grand scheme to it. And I think now where our imaginations were maybe 20, 25 years ago, the technology and the ability and also the expertise we have to a certain point where we can realize these things.
we
But
have it right here in our homes.
yeah,
We have access to it with a small investment, or even a lot of the stuff we're using is free.
yeah,
We can produce stuff that for us when we were kids was like we needed Spielberg or someone to step in and
absolutely.
do the
Yeah.
thing for us.
And I think that's a big
Um,
part of this Pocket Studio is that it's about empowering ourselves, but also empowering other people to
yeah.
start that project that they've been thinking about, create that thing and make it, because I think we've spent a lot of time ourselves waiting for get doors to be open, gatekeepers to say, yes, you
Yeah.
can come in. And that
Sitting at people's doorsteps, sitting in cars with hangovers, waiting for the big meeting that once we get there, we're all sweaty and weird. But yeah,
Exactly, exactly, and it's kind of a fallacy because, like, I think the process of actually making is the fun bit, and has always been the fun bit for me. And no one's going to stop you, and no, there are no doors or gates except the ones that are in your own mind.
well, especially now. I mean, I think it's very poignant now because this AI that is bubbling up and ever increasing. We got people who we know who are not musicians who are sending us clips and songs going, "Look at my band, look at my music," and it's
Yep.
like, No, no, it's not." So I guess we're bringing back the. We're not bringing anything back. I guess we're embracing and enjoying the journey of art itself and creativity and wanting to share because I guess one thing that always sticks with me, I remember in maths class,
Mm.
for sitting in maths class, and I'd put my stuff together, I'd show it to the
Yeah.
teacher. They look at it and go, "Where's your workings? Where's your formulas? How did you get there? Like, why is it
Mm.
important if I have the answer?" They say, "Well, yeah, it's very important because you could just write anything on the paper
Yeah.
and say that's your answer, And then it took me years to break my own laziness and then
Yeah.
understand. Okay, I got you. But so you and I, a bit of background to this. So
Yep.
we're going to chat a little more specifically about everyone heard the title song just before our lovely faces showed up.
Yes.
That's something that was done in the Pocket Studio, and it was done by purpose. It was done in targeted for an experiment I did myself, where I said I wanted to go from 0 to 100 in 24 hours, and that meant go from seed, just an
Yep.
idea, all the way through to having recorded, mixed, mastered, and even shot a video for a song in what I call Pocket Studio. And
And
Pocket Studio is quite literally this.
it's an iPad.
It's an iPad or it's this.
Some kind of
It's a telephone.
right. And so everything for the song that is the theme song for Pocket Studio, a song that's called Bend It Boy that we'll be putting out on our YouTube channel, is something you created within a day on your iPad or on your iPhone
On an
using
iPad.
on an iPad. And so you had the idea, I want to write and create a song in a day, do it all on
Mhm.
my iPad, do it all at home, not go into studio. Now, this is not necessarily a revolutionary idea. We're not
No.
reinventing the wheel, but it is something that gave you, I guess, a sense of power during lockdown and having
Well,
that experience of like, I can do this, I can make stuff even though the rest of the world's shut down.
so if we wind it back, it goes a bit like this. So in the late '90s, I left high school and went and studied a bit of audio,
Yep.
but discovered it like being behind the camera or behind the desk wasn't really what drove me. I wanted to play.
Yep.
So I kind of went on a different track, although I've always been interested in all the sound and all of that stuff along the way.
And so you've been playing as a musician with a lot of successful bands over the years. We've played together.
Yeah,
You've been signed in record contracts and
all
playing
of
in
that business.
concert, doing all that kind of stuff. But always,
Yes.
I always know for you, you've always had an interest in gear, in the
Yep.
technology, in the making of. And yes, you did go to audio college back in the day. Um, and so this is something you've now sort of transitioned into more. Like I think when we
Well, I
reconnected, I was interested that you were producing more and
yes.
engineering and making stuff for other artists as well.
I think from that point of view, if we do wind it back to lockdown was the catalyst for me to say there's not much to do. Live gigs have dried
Gone.
up,
Yeah,
literally.
they
They're not happening.
disappeared. Right.
And I was at home thinking, all right, well, I'd been using stuff like this for a
Yep.
while, the old iPad, and using GarageBand on iPad. This is not, we're not affiliated with Apple. We're not sponsored by Apple. It's just happened to be
Or
the
Shure
technology I had,
microphones.
or Shure, or Meet Robots,
Yes,
um, maybe.
maybe.
Uh, and so it just struck me that what I'd been using a long time is a sketch pad. So I find
Mm.
especially the Apple stuff. Giving a plug to Apple. I started on like Android and all the other stuff, but I just found the Apple products more conducive to use for myself. So I
Yep.
migrated over to MacBooks and iPhones and all of that nonsense.
Yep.
So GarageBand, I was using a lot as just a sketch tool when I was writing songs for people or
Yep.
for bands or creating my own work. I'd never really thought about it as anything other.
Right.
Lockdown hits, and I was like, right, I can't get into the studio. I can't do any of this. Why don't I just try and produce a song just all on the iPad using
Mm.
everything that's free, the free version of GarageBand, the free everything,
Mm-hmm.
and see if I can do it. And I did one, and I really enjoy it. I found the limitations annoying and liberating.
Right. So
So
what are those limitations? So for people that maybe are just interested in having listened to talk a Pocket Studio and what that is, like what's the difference between recording on an iPad then versus going into a recording studio?
well, if you've got, let's say, a digital audio workstation or a DAW that might be Cubase, Logic, Studio One, Ableton, any of these, there's a lot more functionality. Even the GarageBand version for the computer
Yep.
it has a lot more functionality to it. But
Okay.
you, if you're coming from the school of I just want to record some things, basically, it's actually very intuitive and useful.
Yep.
But when you've had experience and you've used a lot of different tools, to go back and use something so crude
Mm.
is like you've been drawing your whole life with oils on beautiful canvas and now you've got charcoal in a cave wall
Right.
and you want to communicate the same beauty and emotion. So I think we'll talk more about limitations and what's positive and negative over some other videos when we pick specific topics to talk on.
Yep.
But let's say that they're comparatively to, let's say, a big studio where you have all
Mm-hmm.
this wonderful gear that's giving you color and sound and life, or a digital workstation where you can do so many things and use so many plugins. When you come down to something like a simple version of GarageBand, where
Mm.
you can really do the very basics, like you might have one reverb, one compressor, that's And
Right.
you really got to work with color of sound, emotion of sound, because you don't even have such an expansive EQ control over everything. You've just got a basic treble or a bass, and so you're really going almost back to the Beatles days in a weird way.
Yeah. Okay.
You got to think differently, and it inspired me. It's at that time where I realized I love sound.
Yeah.
And in fact, I wanted to get back into working in studios and mixing. And I'm not big into doing live sound or, let's say, the recording process,
Yep.
but I love getting sound and mixing the sound. And especially I took it on as a mission to try and, again, not the only one, breathe life into the digital sterility that
Now,
seems to be.
I think that's a really good question because I think there might be a few people watching that are right on top of this, and then a couple of people maybe getting a little bit lost about some of the things you're talking about. So when you
Yep.
say there's digital sterility, say for
Hmm.
example, when you recorded something back in the day, like when we recorded this is our first band that
Hmm.
we had when we were like 16, 17 years old. We
16,
recorded
yeah.
onto a tape, but
Powerhouse.
in Powerhouse
Powerhouse Studios in
Studios.
Sydney.
But we also recorded onto a tape in the actual studio. It wasn't
Yeah, we had a
necessarily
16.
inch. Yeah, tell us more. Tell me more
Well,
about
it's a
what that was.
16 track 2-inch tape.
Yeah, okay.
So back at those times, what year would that have been, man? 95?
It says on the back of it, it says
96?
97. This is
Right.
1997 that we recorded this, apparently. So there you go.
Okay, so 97.
Yep.
Um, Mostly was still analog gear. So we had a big old analog desk in the studio
Yep.
there. There was the 2-inch tape machines, um, which were magnetic tape, old
Uh huh.
school. Uh, and it still was around the time stuff was starting to become more digitized. You didn't
Yep.
really see Pro Tools. Pro Tools was kind of the first big digital kind of interface that we saw popping up in commercial studios.
Yep.
But
And,
so
and
the idea, but
and so going from that idea of sterility of the digital space to what it's like to record on an actual medium like tape, is the comparison like recording like a digital image versus recording on film? Like,
yes,
is that the
yes.
quality?
So when you see something that's shot on film camera, there is a difference. No matter how hard you try with a digital camera, when you see something that's shot on film with a beautiful, old analog camera,
Yeah.
there's a difference. There's a texture or depth to it that is something, a
Well,
flavor.
well, for the way I understand it, it's light that's interacting with a physical source. It's celluloid. It's been exposed on a negative, and it's light
Exactly.
interacting. So lights versus a pixel is inside a digital
It's different.
sensor is a very different type of way of processing and receiving information. And I imagine it's the same with sound, that on the tape
Yes,
you're collecting sound and you're processing that information in a way that's different to when it's going through a
that's
digital
right.
processor.
And it's an argument that still exists. People saying digital, I've got my, I don't know, my Marshall amp with the tubes in it sounds incredible. And someone's saying, yeah, I've got the same thing modeled on my XFX or on my Fractal, and it sounds just as good. It's different processes, and that's what we're here to discuss. There is no
Mm.
right or wrong. So we're
Yep.
trying to bust down the walls. So if we wind back to that idea, our first studio experience of Citrus, that was a big studio, cost us a bunch of pocket change when we were kids.
Which
The
we
bloody
saved up for.
engineer,
Yep.
the engineer turns up a couple hours late, hungover as buggery. So that's something that if we that was fun.
Yeah.
But we went on through. So from the Pocket Studio, my first inspiration for the Pocket Studios was, in
Mm.
fact, when we worked with a dude. Well, you and I, but previous to that, we had done some further studio work in Europe.
Yep.
So that's when we first touched on the digital world,
Yep.
and digital the digital versus the analog. The digital drove in when time and money collide.
Right.
So, as you know yourself, or if people don't know, when you are recording in the studio on tape or recording film on tape, you have to edit things by literally cutting the tape. If you want to
Yeah.
edit
Razor
something out,
blade and sticky tape and putting it
yes.
back together. Yep.
So you can overdub on a tape,
Yep.
and the life or the degradation or the mojo we're talking about on a tape is the more times you record on a tape, or the more time that tape runs over magnetic heads,
Mm.
it adds or subtracts something from the sound.
Right.
So if you play a tape over years, it'll stretch a little bit, it'll get duller, all these kind of things will happen to the tape. So
Mm.
it's almost still alive.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
it's 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 like a old wine in a cellar. It can get worse. Maybe it gets better.
Right.
Uh,
Okay.
but when time is money in the studio, the thought process was, wow, if we've got this digital stuff, we can start doing crazy. We can just people don't is controversial, but people don't even have to be good players anymore. We can
Yeah.
just get an
Right.
average player. We can all these guys that are and girls lining up to come in the studios to record their demos, and they're churning out crappy demos. Speaking of, it'd be interesting to hear that Citrus one after all these years to see how we
Yeah.
played on our first, because
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
recorded it live to tape. Like
We did.
we overdubbed, of course, the other, and that's the other process. You record to tape, and then you might come and overdub some vocals on the same tape or whatever else. But we were limited to 16 tracks
Hmm.
for a 5-piece band because we had a guest at the time on
We
flute.
did. We had Angela Grima on jazz flute.
Well, that's interesting because nowadays you got bands like the Muse blowing out 460 tracks in one song.
Right. Okay.
So we've almost gone, let's open the doors, no limits.
Yeah.
And of course, chopping, changing, putting stuff on a grid. Grid means like it's a tempo, it's a click track thing. So you listen to a click track as a muso, it's giving you a tempo for the song,
Yeah.
and it's making our life as editors or sound engineers or mix engineers or producers easier because we go, oh, they played that 8 bars really well. Just snip that and loop that, or we might move that somewhere else. So it's just about time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like the AI argument we've got now.
Mm.
So it's like, do we prioritize time and product, or time over the authenticity or the creativity of a product or an outcome or a piece of art?
It's really interesting. I saw a reel that was on Instagram, and you can take these things with a grain of salt because who knows where it came from. But there was a quote there by Rudolf Steiner, who was a philosopher and really influential in education, and he talks about this idea that some of the structures that surround education and surround our society are there in a way to create a sense of control and a sense of, he was saying, these are malignant forces, these are malign forces
Yeah.
that are imposed on us. And I think about that in relationship to tempo and working on the grid. Now, obviously, you've got to have rhythm and you've got to have good sense of tempo and time as a musician. But I often think, well, what happens to the feeling if you're sticking to this kind of arbitrarily decided tempo that we go, this
Yeah.
is what the click track is, this is how it has to be.
But
Where
isn't
is
this
the
why
give
we're
and take,
talking about this? Isn't it why we're talking about this? Because we've got another podcast. It's called Hidden in Plain Sight. We do a
Yeah.
couple of things, and our art that we're about to talk about more is about breaking down some barriers, understanding
Mm.
a little more, embracing the past to move into the future with more knowledge.
Yeah.
And if this discussion now is the awareness that, guys, the click track only exists to make time in studio more monetarily efficient,
Yes.
and to make musicians that are unable to actually play together well, sit
Yes.
together well in a recorded sense. It is not anything like artistic. No one ever said, let's create a grid in this tempo. It is for cohesion and it helps.
Yeah.
But let's not be mistaken that it needs to be that way, because an
Yeah.
organic process of musicians playing together, but you're talking about time and money. That's why back in the day,
Yep.
like big bands would go in the studio and record over months and spend $500,000, $1 million
Yes.
recording an album,
Yep.
because they want to be in the right mood, they want to be in the right space and get it to tape in the right way.
Look, I think when it comes to tempo, our good friend Paco, who we used to live with I used to live with him in Prague, and as a musician, seeing him play drums, which was something he grew up with in Senegal, playing djembe, which is a West African instrument, just seeing him sit in and play that instrument and talk about what that feeling is like. There's something that is something so specific and so intuitive about the way that he used to play that instrument that certainly get into the recording studio, work with the click, but I think there's something that is very much alive when you see a group of musicians come together and work on a feel that's between a group of people.
Well, this is why we want to discuss all of this, because
Yeah,
we don't want this knowledge to get lost.
yeah,
In sometimes in our drive to be more current, be more advanced, we actually miss and forget some of the campfire stories. So this is our little
yeah,
campfire about studio stuff and about our experience. We've been both doing this for a long time
yeah.
you in various facets. You've been doing a lot of work also on the film side of things, which we'll discuss in another
Yep.
working with editing and film and that stuff.
In the digital format, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I shouldn't say film, should I? I should, because film
Well,
is film.
it's interesting because that there is, there are people that are very kind of specific about what is film, and I just saw the Paul Thomas Anderson One Battle After Another, which is shot on 70 mil, and saw it screened in 70 mil, and they're purists. They think, well, if I'm going to make a film, it's shot,
This is what it's going to be.
shot and screened on film. So yeah, um,
Well, so
yeah,
we personally went through the experience, going back to our experience and the reason for the Pocket Studio on a technical level.
yeah.
So you and I did a few recordings. I don't know if you've got anything to hand. We had a band called Astro Metro.
Well, the thing
If
I
not,
do have with Astro Metro is I've got a whole bunch of mini disc, which is
ah,
kind of the
talking about
yeah, it
tech,
is
digital analog tech
tape.
that appeared, and
Yeah, it's sort of like a fusion between this analog sense of having a tape, but it's digital
digital.
tape. Yeah, so
Yeah.
mini disc was something that we used to get together. I mean, the musicians in Astro Metro. This is a whole bunch of ideas that Dandy Fruity, the guitarist for Astro, one of the guitarists for Astro Metro, used to give us information on the mini
Yeah,
disc.
we had a mini disc player. Yeah.
Here's a whole bunch of demos. Now I don't know exactly. I haven't played this in a long time, but there'd be all these demos on here from Dandy,
Sure.
and we spent a long time. We played. I mean, we were in Brandisnad Laban for I don't know a year, which is a castle outside of Prague. We go
also
there every
recorded.
day. Yeah,
We recorded there. There was a digital. That was probably our first experience as a group. No, that's a lie. Before that, you and I went to a place just outside of the city centre, and we
yes.
recorded
And
very adventurously, like 10 songs, I think, in 2 days.
oh my god, I hope that tape comes to light because it was a very kind of crazy experience because I think I'd been in that country for only 3 months. We'd written all the song in the 3 months. We hired a drummer. Well, we invited a drummer to come play for us. I think we paid him in cigarettes and whiskey.
Bourbon and beer.
Yeah, and it was just a lot of imagination and a lot of enthusiasm. But I think when we got to the end of that, we were like, wow, really need to think about what we're doing here.
Well, that was our first digital experience together, and my
Yeah.
first wholly digital experience
Yeah,
as
okay.
in music, because everything was done on Pro Tools in that studio.
Yes.
And if we fast forwarded a few years, we went through various experiences. We then parted ways for a bit, and then we came back together with another band, which was called Red Fire Red, which is that
Mhm.
one.
Yeah.
And this was the catalyst for me for Pocket Studios, because we went
Yep.
and met a guy called Ian Pritchett, who's worked for Beautiful Girls, Angus Julia Stone, a bunch of well-known Australian artists.
Yep.
And we liked his work, and he lived near us as well, which was nice.
Yep.
So we said, let's chat with Ian, or Eli, as we like to call him.
Eli Pritchett. There
We might get him on here at one point to have a
Yeah,
chat,
that'd
but
be
we
cool.
went to meet him at his studio.
Yes.
And I think we were both really interested or surprised when we turned up, and it's a suburban house in the middle of Castle Hill, Sydney. And we were like,
Yeah.
all right, okay. And we go in, and he's converted his garage into a studio, and he told us the story. He said, yeah, I had the studio, I was doing the whole thing,
Mhm.
and I just realized with the technology where it's gone, the overheads of having the bricks and mortar, which ironically I think a lot of offices and stuff are realizing now
Yep,
after the lockdowns,
absolutely.
going these bricks and mortar, it's just, I don't need it.
Yeah.
So because he, as the technology changed, those big tape machines disappeared, the big tube amps, the compressors, the big desks disappeared. You didn't need a warehouse
Right.
to record in.
Yep.
So we went to his garage, and that really blew my mind. I was like, I'd heard, people were doing this, but he was a professional dude, top of his game,
Mm.
working out of his garage with like some outboard gear. So for those who don't know, outboard gear is anything that is external to the digital workstation or the computer. So a lot of guys using, I don't know, compressors and preamps and stuff externally, but most of the work and processing is and tracking is being done straight to computer.
Yeah.
And man, we had a blast. We were
Mm,
we wanted some natural reverb for a didge, and there was a little bathroom on the side, so we had the didge player pointing the didgeridoo into the toilet, and we had a
mhm.
mic stuck there, picking up some natural reverb, and we were recording drink bottle clanging and all kind of stuff, and that was
Collapse,
very
went to the
enlightening.
ocean to record ocean sounds. We
Yeah.
recorded a children's choir in a dance studio. Like, we did
Using
all of
nothing
that.
more than budget gear. So right before that, we created the album, which people can hear. We'll put some links down there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But you and I decided when we got back together in 2008, we said let's try and do this ourselves.
Yep,
We didn't have the aspirations to record a whole album on our gear, but
yep.
we said let's go buy some of this digital stuff and get a couple of mics.
And
There's
here
one
it
of them.
is.
Look at
Here's
that.
one. Here's one of the
That's a
mics that we
relic.
bought. Yeah. I think I got a decent paycheck from a small role that I had in a film. And we decided instead of spending it on my young family, we'd invested in musical equipment.
Musical equipment. That's right. Very wise.
Wise
So we
decision.
did that, and we spent lots and lots of hours. I think it was very beneficial. We spent lots and lots of hours writing songs, correlating
Yeah.
ideas, but in the process, we started actually becoming sound engineers
Yeah.
because we were wanting to hear stuff, like, and that's the beauty, right? It's necessity, and all of a
Yeah.
sudden, necessity made us. We had no idea. It's probably laughable the amount of time we spent doing something that
Mm.
now we know how to do with a shortcut in 2 seconds.
Yep.
But I say time well spent because when that album, which we'll put a link to, the demos that we did before that, funnily enough, we had this feeling that there was something to those demos that was also really cool.
Yeah.
And we actually thought that through the process of making this very polished rock and roll, pop and roll thing that we made, which we're both
Yeah.
very proud of, I certainly am. The demos had this raw, indie, dancey, soul-y, hip-hoppy soup of an idea that
Mm.
actually had its own mojo. But I
Yeah.
think this is what we're talking about. We had this artistic limitation of like, we can't put that out.
Well, I think it's that kind of that limit in your mind. You go, oh, it has to be a certain way. I have to record it in a certain place or with a certain person to give it
Yeah.
legitimacy, to
Yes.
legitimize the idea. And I think many artists have done this way, way before we ever thought of it. But
Well,
this
that's how we were
idea of
schooled.
just, well, yeah, just how it was schooled, and also that a demo can be the album. And I'm thinking of Springsteen's Nebraska as a great example of a great piece of work that was
Demos.
recorded as a demo, and the producers heard it and they said, this is it,
That's
this is
it.
a great album, like. And it's not to compare what we're doing to Springsteen or anyone, but I think that idea of I need something else to legitimize who I am
Yeah.
as a creative person
It's not. We
stops a
need to
lot
break
of
that
people
down.
from actually releasing something or putting something into
Yes.
the world. And if we're in the space we're in at the moment, there's this new media space, not new, but like social media space, you can put something out and it's gone. Like, people forget. It can just disappear. It can exist, but you can also put stuff out into the world and just see how it goes as well.
Well, we're trying to encourage that, aren't we? Our version of AI is not artificial intelligence, it's analog intelligence. The old idea, my mum always says, if something's not a tool, you're a tool for it. So this whole thing is just about us not saying, ooh, bad, bad,
Yeah.
getting afraid, or saying, yes, it's the best thing ever.
Or
No,
bad for
it
big
just
studios. Like,
is.
it's just what you have available, but the limitations of not stopping yourself from creating something. Like going, okay, well, I have this, I have this, I have this. What can I do to
Yes.
actually make it work, make it happen?
Well, we need to deindustrialize the art scene and take it away from. I know lots of, let's talk specifically guitarists, unless they have a certain expensive guitar, a certain piece of gear they're unable to play, drummers, there's all these excuses. And it's like, and then I'll click on, I don't know, to YouTube, and I'll see someone in Brazil playing a drum kit they've made out of buckets
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and bits of metal, and it's the passion.
Well,
You're like, I can listen to that all day.
I picked up a small drum from Salvation Army for $50, a couple of months ago, and I started playing it tonight, and I was like, this doesn't sound good. I need a better drum. But I spent a bit of time just playing it and playing it and playing it. And after a while, I was just like,
Used to
actually, there's something here. I've just got to
embrace its
I got
character.
to figure out who this little piece of, who this creature is, and work with it. And yeah, some sounds started coming out of it that were, fairly cool.
We're not. I don't think we're kind of. We're not advocating anything in the sense of anything. It's like
Yeah,
big studios have a place, big budgets have a place.
yeah.
But I think if we think that's the goal, that's the thing, that's the pothole that a lot of people are falling in. So
Mm.
this do-it-yourself stuff is not, it's not new by any means in any facet of anything. But this, I guess, this discussion and what we're trying to encourage is embracing what you have available.
Mm-hmm.
And also, we're going to go through a bunch of stuff that is relatively cheap or free, and how you can achieve some decent results, some respectable results, and even some amazing results using such things.
Well, let's play a little bit of Bend It Boy now. Let's just put a bit of that on, and we'll come back
Hmm.
and talk a bit more about how you went through the process of making it and where this pocket studio started. I was listening to Bend It Boy, and the first time I heard it, I was a little disturbed by it. I have to be honest. I was like, "Whoa, what the hell is going on here?" It's quite strange. It's odd, and it's got this kind
Yeah.
of almost like toy-like feel to it, and then it goes into something that's really quite weird. But the more I listened to it, and the more we chatted, I get a sense that what you're trying to do, not only with Pocket Studio and with this one, which was an experiment, but I can see that you're really trying to push elements of form, push elements of harmony, push elements of
Yes.
orchestration just into other places that may be unconventional and weird and a little sometimes difficult to listen to and go, oh, what do I think of this?
Well, as part of the
Yeah.
experiment, I created this alter ego called JDRK.
Okay.
And that was part of my whole liberation of myself. And what
Right.
that meant was, if I kind of felt it was the Clark Kent Superman thing. If I
Yeah.
want to be able to change something in myself, maybe if I'm just being myself, it's going to sound super strange, but if I'm just there and I'm applying all my old thought processes, I'm probably going to struggle or implement those. Whereas if I wanted to approach, which was part of Pocket Studios, get rid of all the things I kind of know and go back to using ears and feel and all of this stuff. And
Mhm.
also, specifically not wanting to be weird, but
Yeah.
specifically not wanting to conform to something or colors or emotions that seem to be common.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And
JDRK
yeah.
was a guy I created, and he was my producer guy.
Yep.
So JDRK would produce me, and he would say,
Ah.
"Don't worry about that. Just use that. Oh, it's slightly out of tune. It's fine. It's vibing." Or that's not what, why are the keyboards like that? Why are the drums like that?
Yes.
And so that was an opportunity for me to almost create the new version and think completely outside the box as far as my own limitations.
I think that's a really good thing to say because I know that you spent a long time as a bass player in what you might describe as like heavy music or heavy rock or
Yes.
metal music and really playing in that space. And I think that comes with a sense of its own identity. And
Does.
I think if you spend so much time just playing inside of that identity, it eventually becomes its
Characterization.
own, well, it becomes its own trap in a way that you
Yes.
can't get yourself out of it. And one of the things I really love, Johnny Greenwood from Radiohead,
Hmm.
what he's obviously done with the band is incredible, but then has gone on to become a composer for film,
Yeah.
and a composer for other types of instruments. And just to see a musician evolve and then not necessarily doing the same thing over and over and over
Well,
again.
I think you and I, strangely enough, talking about
Yeah,
characterizations, it's the same in film and television.
yeah,
An actor will do a role, then another role similar, another role similar. All of a
yeah,
sudden, you're getting those offers, and then you
mhm,
say, "Oh, maybe it's a comedy role." You say, "Yeah, but I'm a serious actor. I just
yeah,
did the
yeah, yeah,
comedy because my." It's the same. Both of us have broad taste. I mean, we grew up
yeah,
listening together to stuff like Tower of Power, Miles Davis. We were listening
yeah,
to Metallica together. We're
yeah,
listening to Stone Temple Pilots. We're listening to Bach. If we felt it had a soul, we'd smash it on at the party,
yeah,
drink
yeah,
some
yeah,
goon sack, smoke a ciggy, and dance about like
yeah,
idiots.
yeah, yeah.
But I found myself, so I ended up in Europe where I am now with a heavier band, was more like a skate punk vibe.
Yes.
And then I started to get offers of work because people saw me in that context. Whereas before I left to come to here, I was mostly playing funk and hip hop and all this other
Yeah,
stuff.
interesting. And that
And I think that's J
personality,
Dark.
yeah. So J Dirk or J Dark is the version of yourself from Australia or that
J
came with
Dark
you?
is J Dark is the guy that was hidden away for a long time, boiling away in the basement, doing all of
Yeah,
this
yeah.
stuff, experimenting with hip hop and funk and soul and all of these things. That I've got so many recordings on everywhere, iPhones and mini discs and all that stuff of me just jamming.
Yep.
But that was it. There was never an outlet,
Yeah,
and that
right.
was 2020. So it's the understanding or the ethos behind that music for me is a very different character than walking into a studio and recording a rock song or walking into a studio and recording a pop song. All
So,
of it has its place. So
mhm.
what I've done from 2020 is kind of bring those two folks together.
Yeah.
So I have an approach now to music in general that's very I would consider open. Well, much more open than it was.
And I guess as part of the process, obviously you're plugging an instrument into your iPad to do it.
Yes.
You've got your iRig there if you want to show
I'm
everyone
actually
what an
holding
iRig
it right
is.
now.
It's
Yeah.
like so you can plug in a instrument with a
Cable
lead.
jack goes in there, your
Yeah,
earphones go in that part. That plugs into your iPad or iPhone, and
and
off you
con-
go.
and it's
Straight
like
to GarageBand.
basically converting the sound into the workstation that you're working
Audio
on,
digital converter, yeah.
which is tech. It's tech stuff, and I think there's an element of us as the Australian DP cinematographer talks about. Greg Fraser's like, how much of an artist and how much of a tradesperson are you? Are you
Yes.
75% tradie, 25% artist? Is it 50-50? Is it the other way around? And does it change for
Know
different types
thyself.
of, yeah, knowing yourself? But moving away maybe from the specifics of the tech to talk more about JDark, is JDark having conversations with you, Josh, as you're playing? Like, are you
No,
separating your
not
personality
anymore.
out? Not anymore, but at the beginning,
Not anymore. In
how,
the beginning, it was
yeah.
because I found my own systems of prejudice were getting in my way. I
Now, what is
found
a
I'd get
system
to a
of
point.
prejudice? Just to break that down, what does that mean?
So it means that my own thought. So I would say, oh, gee, I would love to record a song and I need some drums. But my system of prejudice dictates that I need to go to a studio and record a real drummer, or at least the free sample packs that come on this iPad,
Yeah,
they're not good enough.
yeah, right,
Or, just these weird thought processes that initially I would embrace and say, well, that's right. And that's
right.
what I'd share with the world. You should go to a studio to record drums. It was a system of prejudice. It was very
Or
enlightening to
or
create
use samples
JDRK.
that sound professional or sound
Well,
of that quality or whatever it is.
man, all around the same time. So as JDRK came to light, there goes your lights. They
Yeah,
just
yeah,
changed color.
yeah,
I I realized something really powerful. I needed to change. I
yeah,
was waiting for the world to bloody change, and I'm in lockdown going, hang on a sec. Why do I dare comment? Why do I dare cast aspersions and point fingers?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I should be doing this.
Yeah, yeah.
pointing at me. And so that funny little guy who is
Mhm.
now much part of me I mean, again, I'm not schizophrenic as far as I know, as far as you know. It
Yeah.
is was always part of me, and I'm sure we all have part of ourselves that we kind of leave on the side that come out
Mm.
every now and then and have a little chat with us.
Mm.
And around that time, I saw, if no one's seen it, I recommend go watch the Beastie Boys documentary that they did. That came out
Mhm.
on Apple TV. I'm sure you can see it everywhere around 2020,
Yep.
2021, somewhere
Yep,
there.
yep, yep.
It was so enlightening, and it just freed my soul to a large degree to see these guys who were on a track to make it, big record company, big labels, and they stepped out in front of a sold out arena and then turned and looked at each other and basically went, we wouldn't even hang out with these people. Like, why are
Right.
we standing here? Why are we doing
Yeah,
this?
yeah, yeah.
Where's it? Where's the? And they literally walked away from it,
Yep.
went and rented a house, apparently smoked a lot of weed, but decided each one of them, let's just pick an instrument. We love soul music. We love punk music. We love hip hop. Let's smash that together. Learn to play some music. And in my opinion, mate, one of the best Beastie Boys albums and one of my favorite albums, which is
Yes.
called The Sounds of Science.
Yes, okay.
And it's this beautiful instrumental thing where the playing is kind of loose and it's dirty and it's analogy and it's all, but
Yeah.
wow, what a vibe.
Mm.
But that a lot of little things happened during that period where I went, right, my own, just as a person, forget about art, just as a person, I need to rediscover my own systems of prejudice and how I
Right.
impose those on myself.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
therefore, in my conversation to everybody else,
Yeah, it's what you
I'm kind of passing on to you advice without passing on advice, merely
Yes.
because I'm saying that's good or that's not. And
Yes.
so, cutting back to that idea, JDRK is now me and I am JDRK. So Josh is JDRK and vice versa, which was liberating to a point where being able to watch myself in the mirror
Mm.
and have that conversation with myself. Josh should go, oh, well, I need that. And JDRK would say, no, 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 as fine as it is. Trust me. There's vibe in. Don't forget the vibe. Don't forget the energy. Forget about that. You don't need that.
Yes.
And the liberation of the most important thing. I don't care anymore,
Yeah.
without saying like a douche, what anybody else thinks about what I do.
Yeah, I mean, there's that reel that's going around with Bowie talking about like never play for the gallery. You know, it's always a
Yeah.
mistake. It's always a mistake to try and play for a crowd or trying to get people to like you because of your music. You got to play it because you love it, you enjoy it. It's firing you up, and maybe someone else will too.
Well, it's the
So
only way to be authentic, really, isn't it?
yeah,
Because if we go out with a mindset, it's just about giving and not ego. If we go out the mindset of I need to be intentionally different so I stand out from the crowd, you're still not giving.
yeah,
If you
yeah,
go out
yeah,
with the mindset, I need to do something similar like that band so I can be popular too, you're not giving anything.
yeah,
If you've got the mindset, I have a story to tell
yeah.
and I'm going to share it the best way I can, that's a great platform to start sharing art or anything.
And so 2020, it's 5 years ago. It's 2025 now. Josh and J Dark have merged together. So where does this take you? You've done you're recording with Reflections of Karma. You've just finished a tour with Gaia Messiah. We've started El Ruin and the Remnants, put out a
Yes.
podcast. So where do you see this pocket studio, this idea, and other things going from here with this
Well,
this change?
we are using, so you mentioned a couple. I have started from 2020 and more so working with other bands doing things like mixing and producing, which has been
Mm-hmm.
very liberating.
Yeah.
I'm bringing this idea of giving to the whole process,
Yeah.
and some people think I'm mad, and other people embrace it and love it.
Yep.
Um, Quite specifically, there's a few albums. There's one called Vilno Biti. We'll put a link underneath by
Yep.
Gaia Messiah, which basically was done in this room, all the mixing on these headphones. I've still got them.
Yeah.
Cheap ass flat response industry standard Sony headphones. They're like $100 or $120.
Yep.
The whole album was mixed on that. It was done on a Steinberg UL Cubase
Yes.
interface,
Yep. 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 Yep.
one which you've got hanging around.
Yeah, I think it's up there. Yeah, holding up a poster.
Yep, and it was done on a cheaper version of Cubase, and that's an
Yep.
album that is getting like tens of thousands of listens monthly
Yep.
and is quite well respected. It's very experimental because I took what you and I did together.
Yep.
In the band is quite it's considered crossover, so there's a lot of different things going on.
Yeah.
But I took the experience of you and I doing the demo for the Red Fire Red album,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and I went, I want to do that on this album. And the girls in the band and the record company said, go for it. And I was like,
Awesome.
holy shit.
They-
So I
they-
spent, man, I went mad. Way on one side, there's way too much time spent on it. But on the other side, it was just discovering for me all of these things again.
Yep.
And it was a great opportunity. And then fast forward a little bit when you get to stuff like Reflections of Karma, which was released not long ago.
Yep.
I'm now, because of that experience, I'm now able to step into the kitchen and have an idea what the outcome will be
Sure.
and put that outcome across. And for me, that's what a producer is. I hear a lot of people throw around the word producer because they're a recording engineer or a mix engineer.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to. Rick Rubin, world famous producer, doesn't know how to work a sound desk, or he's very crude. He will tell you he does not play an instrument, or at least not well.
Mm.
But a producer is product, right? So it's understanding the outcome and driving every moving part to an outcome, and having a clear vision of that outcome.
Yeah.
And not only a clear vision, but something Rick Rubin is great at is not pigeonholing everything to sound like Rick Rubin.
Right.
Every band he works with sounds like, in my honest opinion, a better version of that band, or a cohesive version of that band.
Yeah. Okay.
Because he's a psychologist, for want of a better description.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But moving forward through that means it inspired what you and I are about to do. So people are going to hear stuff from El Ruin and the Remnants.
Yeah.
And El Ruin and the Remnants is, let's say, the first thing that I guess we can share about this is it's something we've been working on and off for many, many years.
Yeah.
It is it's like a babushka doll or an onion. There's multi levels to this, which this very thing we're doing now is part of. I'm so
Yes.
sorry. I don't know why that's.
You got a phone call. It's Rick Rubin. Rick Rubin is calling
Rick
Josh.
Rubin.
Josh
Rick
Stewart.
Rubin's just
He
called
wants
me.
to talk to Jay Dark. He wants that question.
Well, it's on silent, but it's ringing on my computer.
He's like,
so
"Why
weird.
are you talking about me again, Josh? You got to makes me embarrassed. I'm shy." That's what he's saying.
He's heard me. He's heard me. But this is so part of what we're doing now. So we're doing music. We're basically got what we might share as an analog computer game.
Yeah.
Something along these lines, or it's something that's a story, and it's imagery, it's prose, it's music, it's philosophy, it's real time,
Yes.
it's past, present, and future, and it's a very bold adventure which we're going to do with the limitations that Pocket Studio is part of those limitations.
And it could be Don Quixote's impossible dream, and we might be, charging at windmills to make a wafty, lofty illusion there. But at the same time, I think for me anyway, because I feel like there's been an element of you coming across to me and going, "Hey, let's do this again," after a long period of time. What it's given me is like an opportunity to, like yourself, sort of dismantle or deconstruct some of those systems, of my own systems of prejudice. And I think if that is the sole outcome of this particular project, then
what the game's all about.
Well, that's fantastic, because it's got me doing so much stuff, so much creative stuff, so many different things, but also has influenced so many other parts of my life in a genuinely positive way. And I was having quite a meaningful chat with a colleague of mine today, and we were talking about like kids and their future and what's down the line for them. And there is an overwhelming sense of pessimism for a lot of young people, because the world does seem quite bleak, and what can we do about it? And I kind of got into that bleak spiral of conversation. Well, this is bad, and that is bad, and this is bad. But here's one thing that we can do. we can do something creative here and give people an
Yeah.
opportunity to change the frequency, to change their inner dimensions so that they are resonating in a place that may just be a chip in that massive wall of negativity that may knock it over. Who knows?
It may even feel close to freedom. Like
Yeah.
we all I guess we can all understand this little analogy. Like us growing up in the Blue Mountains, there's plenty of times where we took a trek to go camping or we took a trek to go out to a lookout
Yeah.
just to look at a view. And quite often in my recollection, standing there looking at the view was always nice. Oh, gee,
Yeah.
we made it. But the memory and the thing that made it special was getting there and getting back.
Yeah.
That was the journey aspect to it. And I think if we what when you say about Don Quixote,
Hmm.
I think both of us have finally discovered the outcome is not important. This is why we're
No.
here. We are sharing the journey live with everybody, and we're going to start sharing more and more of that,
Yeah.
and it will become something that for ourselves is textured and liberating and wonderful and gives us a spring in our step. And for me, that's what JDRK taught me.
Yeah.
Art and creativity is about love and giving and freedom of self and connection. It's not about money. It's not about time. It's not about outcomes. It's not about industrializing or commercializing anything. If what we do happens to form some kind of momentum, happy days. But I'd much rather do something that resonates
Yeah.
and has a special aspect and a connection to it than stand on front of stage like the Beastie Boys. You and I were on
Mm.
the edge of that. Another story we'll tell at another time.
Another
We
time.
had a big opportunity once back in the day in Prague. We were going to be going to England and playing with all these big bands and doing all this great thing. And it all fell apart. And I think we both had a discussion years after that, after going through the
Mm.
emotional turmoil and the disappointment and all
Yeah.
of that. We went, thank God. Thank God we didn't,
Yeah.
that didn't happen.
Yeah. We'd either be incredible bellends from that experience because I don't think we were emotionally
By now,
ready for
you'd
that,
certainly have face tats. You'd have
or
face tats.
or
I
or,
know it.
or we'd be 100%
Dead.
dead. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So,
on that very positive note of us avoiding death and liberating our souls, we want to invite everyone that's stuck with us on this journey of our first episode of Pocket Studio to
yes.
to get involved, ask us questions, make
Yes.
suggestions, have a chat with us, reach out to us on
So
socials.
we'll
It'll
be
be really
sharing more. We'll be sharing basically on this channel. It won't be so much talking like some of our other stuff. There will be, but it'll be more tech stuff or sharing outcomes.
yeah.
And then we'll be sharing how we got to those outcomes and exactly any questions. Great. We'd love to interview some people, including Mitch and Ian. And I mean, there's a bunch of people that we can connect to and hopefully
Yeah. Well, maybe
interview.
even a few people in different spaces, like for example, Yuri Kovic, who made the Save the
Great
Day
video clip for us.
video clip for Red Fire Red. Be really
Great
interested
guy.
to
Old
chat.
school.
Old 75% old school, as
Old
he
school.
says.
Love it.
It'd be good to chat with him about how he got into that space of making movies for people,
Love
and
it.
doing it very much in that pocket studio kind of approach.
That's what this is about, man. It's about like my one of my biggest beliefs is art is truly the thing that keeps us going, keeps us connected.
Yeah,
I think through the stories, telling those stories around the campfire, and if we need a big studio and a big budget, man, we're lost.
mate.
Back to the campfire.
Back to the campfire, and as what is it? Michael Franti from Spear what does he say? Stay human.
Stay human. That's it. Stay
All
human,
right,
everybody.
stay
Meatbots
human.
AI.
Meatbots
Meatbots
AI
analog intelligence.
and analog intelligence coming at you real soon. All right, thanks for everyone watching, and we'll see you on the next one.